A weird week in the Championship last weekend. No scores correct, but 5 results, so not great. But I'm hoping we can get some scores here because there's some better looking games here. To be honest, for the first 8, I've got no draws, so I'm being decisive, and I think that there are some clearer games in this lot, so hopefully we can get some right. I'm in the new Blues 3rd kit, absolutely love it. I love having a black kit, and we haven't had one for about 5 years, so very glad to have this one. And I'm hoping that we can do as well as we did against Ipswich, because that was a game we should have won if we didn't have such weak depth on the bench and, so many injuries. We would have won that game, because 2-0 up, if Longelo and Roberts don't come on, we win. And we were brilliant for 70 minutes, I'm hearing, so very, very happy with that. Unfortunately, I didn't get to watch it. It was the only game under Rooney that I have actually missed, and it was our best one. I will be watching against Sunderland, so we'll probably go and lose, but I'm optimistic, and I think this Rooney project will work, and I think it's working sooner than I expected, to be honest. Without further ado, let's get into the predictions. We start on Friday night, Blackburn against Preston. What are your predictions? Make sure to let me know. Now, Blackburn, very good form recently. 4 wins out of their last 5 league games. So they are really starting to build. They've had a pretty shaky, inconsistent start, but it's starting to look better now for Blackburn. And they're normally brilliant starters and then fall off at the end, but they seem to be going in reverse a bit here. So maybe the playoffs? I think it's a long shot. But they're up against a Preston side that aren't doing as well as they were towards the start of the season. Obviously, they were up there, had that brilliant winning run. They won their last game 3-2 against Coventry, but before that, 7 without a win. And I'm going to carry on with that trend and go for Blackburn to win 2-1. In the early kick-off on Saturday, Blues travel north to Sunderland. And the home side, not in the greatest of form, picking up 4 points out of their last 5 games, drawing at the weekend 0-0 with Swansea. They did terrorise us last season, but it was mainly Amad Diallo, and thankfully he's not there. Now, Blues, first 4 games under Rooney, 3 losses, and then a 2-2 draw with Ipswich at the weekend. If you'd have given me a point before that game, I'd have snatched your hand off and said, yes, thank you very much. But in hindsight, 2-0 up, should not be losing it. Didn't have the depth. Longelo and Roberts came on, and that's when the game changed. Interesting stat, we haven't actually conceded a goal when Ethan Laird has been on the pitch. Unfortunately, it was his first game back from an injury, so Rooney didn't want to give him the full 90, which is understandable, but we just didn't have the depth. However, much better performance. We were dominant for 70 minutes, and when we get a few more players back from injury, I can see this really clicking and working. So very, very happy at the moment. Very optimistic as well. And that's why I'm going to go for Blues to get all 3 points in a 2-1 win. Cardiff against Norwich. Now, Cardiff, 3 clean sheets in a row. Doing pretty well at the moment. They are up there in the table. Norwich were up there, but not great form at the moment. 4 losses in a row. No wins in their last 6. It's really tough for Norwich at the moment. And I'm imagining that David Wagner is going to be sacked very, very soon. I know there's a new director of football coming in, and they've brought that date forward so that they can make changes, I'm guessing, in management. So Wagner won't be there long. And I think Cardiff, with those clean sheets, will get one here as well. 1-0. Coventry take on Stoke next, and whilst Coventry had a brilliant season last year, it's not going to plan here. They're sitting 20th, 15 points. They've been really struggling recently, 4 losses in a row, no wins in 5. On the other hand, Stoke were struggling, but 3 wins in a row before a draw last weekend against Cardiff. 3 clean sheets in a row as well. Stoke are having a good time of it at the moment. Coventry are struggling to score, but for some reason I've got a feeling they'll score here. So Stoke to win 2-1. Hull face Huddersfield next, and whilst Hull did lose at the weekend 3-1 to West Brom, I'm not very big on Huddersfield. They may have got a point against Watford, but Watford aren't pulling up too many trees either, so I will back the home side Hull to get all 3 points and win it 2-0. Ipswich and Swansea are both quite different when it comes to goals in their games. Ipswich have scored 7, conceded 6 in their last 3. It's a win and then 2 2-all draws in a row. Swansea, on the other hand, won 1, drew 1, lost 1 of their last 3, and they've only scored 1, conceded 1. So 2 very different sides at the moment. Will it be a very expansive high scoring game like Ipswich? Will it be tight like Swansea and low scoring? I'm not sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if Swansea took the lead and then Ipswich went on to win it. So I will back that and go for Ipswich to win 3-2. Leeds face Plymouth next. Leeds are off the back of that brilliant 1-0 away win at Leicester. Leicester's second loss of the season. What a performance from Leeds. And to be honest, I think they are going to catch Ipswich and finish in that top 2. But there's a long way to go. Anything can happen. Plymouth, not in the greatest of form, especially away from home. They did get a good 3-3 draw with Middlesbrough, but that was at home. Away so far, 3 draws out of their 7 games, so 3 points out of a possible 21. I can't see them getting anything here, so I will back the home side to win it 3-1. A big clash as Middlesbrough take on Leicester. Now, Middlesbrough, they'd won 6 in a row, but the brakes are now on the train. 2 games in a row, they lost to Stoke and then drew with Plymouth, so 1 point out of a possible 6. They are slowing down a bit, they'll want to get back into form, but this is a tough game, because despite Leicester losing against Leeds last weekend after 9 wins in a row, Leicester have won every away game this season, all 7 won, and I don't think that's going to end here, so I will go for the Foxes to get all 3 points in a 2-1 win. QPR against Bristol City, for me, is a tight one. After 6 losses in a row, Gareth Ainsworth was sacked, and in Cifuentes' first game, it was a 1-1 draw against Rotherham. Now, it was a game they couldn't afford to lose, and they managed to get a point. He'll have been able to assess his players, and they're going into a game against Bristol City where the away side are quite inconsistent. In their last 6, they've won 3 and lost 3, so I think they might be due a draw. So I'll go for a second draw for Cifuentes' reign, 1-1. Sheffield Wednesday v Millwall should be a bit easier to predict, but I might have this slightly different to everybody else. Sheffield Wednesday, they did beat Rotherham 2-0, then they lost 1-0 to Bristol City. Danny Roll needs time to get used to his players, but this is more about the away side. Millwall, last 5 games, 3 draws and 2 losses, so yet to get a win. Sheffield Wednesday at home, winning their last home game. I've got a slight feeling that this will be tighter than most expect. I'm not going to go all out on the Owls because, let's face it, they have only won 1 game this season, but I will go for them to pick up an important point, 1-1. The tightest top quality game league position wise is when 4th place Southampton meet 5th placed West Brom. Now, but both sides are in pretty good form. Southampton, last 7 games, 5 wins and 2 draws. West Brom, last 7 games, 5 wins, 1 draw, and that loss against Blues. This is a tight one to call because I think either side could get the points, but I just think Southampton, with that Premier League quality and it being at St Mary's, if I'm going to give anyone the edge, I'll give it to them. I think it could be a draw, but I am going to back the Saints to get an important win, 2-1. Watford face Rotherham, and whilst maybe the score's not right based on stats, I think the result is pretty much there. I think this has a draw written all over it. Watford, 2 draws in a row, the latest was a 0-0 with Huddersfield. Rotherham, 2 draws in a row as well, with that crazy 2-2 against Ipswich with 2 very late goals, 1 from either side. I just don't really see this being anything other than a draw. I think Rotherham have a lot of spirit, mainly at home, but they have fighting spirit, because let's face it, they do not have many championship quality players, but they always give it a go, they always fight to the last whistle, and they do pick up some very important good points. For this, both sides average at least one goal scored a game and at least one goal conceded per game. So maybe this score isn't right, but I've got to go for one, so I'll go for a 0-0. So those are my predictions for these championship fixtures. Unfortunately, it's an international break straight after this, so let's hope that it provides as much entertainment as possible and that Wayne Rooney can get his first win. Sorry for Sunderland fans, but I really hope it comes here. Up the Blues.